Good morning, beautiful souls. Jade Renee Banks here. I'll just wait a few moments, just making sure that's live and wait for anyone to jump on who's jumping on live today. So, how are we all feeling today? Please comment and say hello and let me know how you're going if you are joining live, or even if you're watching the replay. I'd love for you to still comment. Let me know that you're watching the replay, how you're traveling, how you're feeling, what's going on for you. I'd love to hear. So I titled today's Facebook Live, The Restoration of Sacred Rest. Thought I'd talk a little bit about that today and what that actually is, what that looks like. I guess a few ideas around that and also what that looks like for me as well. So this was inspired by a card that I pulled for myself this morning. Hi, Jill. I started off the day just with a cup of tea and pulling a couple of oracle cards and some journaling. Oh, nice, Jill. Yep, make your cup of tea. I've got mine. Hi, Amy. How are you, lovely? Let me know how you're going. Pulled a couple of cards and was doing some journaling, and it inspired me to share about it with you all today. I'll just show you the deck of cards that I was working with. It's the Sacred Rebels deck by Alana Fairchild. One of my favorite decks actually. And I always feel to pull a card from this deck when I'm needing something a little bit deeper, and they've always got a lovely reflection or healing process at the end of each description of the card. So I always love to journal on that and do the little process, and it's kind of like a little daily intuitive or spiritual practice. So the card that I pulled was Receiving. So that's the card. And yeah, she mentioned there was a line in there in the description where that really stood out to me, and it was the restoration of sacred rest. So we're all spending a lot more time at home at the moment. We're not engaged in a lot of activities and social interactions, perhaps even jobs that we're usually engaged in. Good morning, Wendy. Hello, lovely. Oh, Amy, all good. Baby prepping. Oh yeah, you must be getting close. Creating and setting up your little nest for your new baby that's on the way. A lot of things that we'd usually be doing or that would usually be keeping us busy are not there at the moment. So you might find you're a little bit at a loose end. You don't know what to do with yourself. You might be feeling restless, maybe even getting a little bit of cabin fever or feeling a bit uncomfortable even. So when we stop and slow down and create that space, often, things that we've not been dealing with or facing or denying or repressing start to rise to the surface. So it's not always comfortable to take that sacred rest, but it's definitely needed and it's definitely necessary. And what came to mind this morning was, how Mother Nature is getting a chance to rest at the moment because, I've seen a few memes coming around that we've all been sent to our rooms to think about what we've done. Mother Nature's sent us to our rooms for misbehaving and acting irresponsibly. And in that, she's getting some rest. And in certain parts of the world, the birds are more present, the birds are singing, the sky's clearer, the sky's bluer, the water's clearer. There's, less pollution and that impact of, humanity living out our daily modern busy lives. So Mother Nature's getting a chance to breathe. Mother Nature's getting a chance to rest. But what came to mind this morning is that we're also nature. This is our chance to breathe. This is our chance to rest. This is our chance to take that restoration of sacred rest. And I also feel like a lot of us are realizing how important nature is for our well-being at the moment because we're self-isolating or home retreating or whatever you'd like to call it. We're really recognizing how integral or how crucial, the fresh air, the sunshine, being outside in nature, being able to see the trees and the greenery and, the bird life, the butterflies, whatever it is. We realize how much our soul needs that because the busy's been taken away and we're being drawn back to basics. And it's like you're sort of getting, when you're stuck inside all the time, you realize how important being outside and being in nature actually is for your well-being. So we are nature. Mother Nature's having a rest. We're having a rest. So I'm curious how... Hi, Kristen. Hi, Michelle. So Jill's just commented, hundreds of butterflies flying around outside my window and cool and quite surreal and lovely. It's beautiful, isn't it? So I'm curious, how comfortable are you with just being? How comfortable are you with resting, receiving even? And how are you supporting yourself in these times, like during your day? Because as much as we need to have that sacred rest, and when I talk about sacred rest, I'm talking about doing absolutely nothing. I'm not even yes, we can rest while we're watching TV. We can switch off our minds and kind of escape into a story or another reality and even receive some healing from that story. So story has great medicine for us, and I truly believe that. Even if you're watching a Netflix series or something, that's sometimes that can actually be really nourishing for your soul. Through the story, we heal through stories. So through that story being told through that TV show or that movie, that can be very healing for us as well in ways that we're not always entirely conscious of. So that is a form of rest, but then there's also another level of rest where we're not doing anything, we're not distracted by anything, we're actually just simply being. And I'm talking about not even reading a book, not even watching TV, definitely not on your phone, on social media, and just actually being, simply resting. And that might be outside somewhere in nature, that might be on the couch, that might be on your veranda, that might be even in the bath, and not having anything else to entertain you while you're in the bath, I don't know what people do in the bath, music, reading a book, just simply. And the bath is a really good one for connecting in with your emotional body and connecting in with your emotions, because you're immersed in that water, which is our emotional state. So I'm curious, sometimes I actually find it really uncomfortable to stay in the bath for a long period of time, if that makes sense, because I know the longer that I stay in there, the more that I relaxed I get, and the more I start to connect in with my emotional self and my emotional body. And if there's something there that I don't particularly want to feel, then I can find it hard to actually relax and spend time in the bath. Kristen's saying, I see butterflies everywhere too. Yeah, so we notice all these beautiful things around us. So then I wanted to talk about like what things do you do to rest and take that sacred rest. So it can be things that you do. It might be, you know, something creative like drawing or singing or knitting or cooking or some sort of a creative project. It might be reading. It might be switching off and watching Netflix. It might be cleaning the house. You might actually find that very restorative. Like, it's always good to have like a list of things that are kind of like your self-care menu. So like, for example, at the moment, because I'm at home all the time, like I feel like we still need to have some sort of routine, some sort of structure in our days that are supporting us. So we are not just at a loose end, not just restless, not just sort of rolling by day. Like, how are you using this time? So, for example, for me, so I've got there's a few, I guess, set in stone or non-negotiables for me at the moment. So one is some form of exercise or movement or yoga. So whether that's, like I said, yoga, whether that's a walk outside, whether that's a bike ride. So that's every day for me at the moment. The next one is actually getting outside at some point during the day. So that might even be just to do a walk around the block, go down to the shop, whatever it is just spending a little bit of time outside, maybe in the garden, that sort of thing. The other one is I'm getting on and I'm doing my Facebook Live every morning at 10 o'clock. So that gives me some sort of purpose during the day, some sort of a structure. So I get up and I know that I'm doing that at 10 o'clock, that's set in stone. And then that helps me kind of arrange my day around that. The next one is, I think of at least one sort of household chore that I want to get done. So something that I don't necessarily feel like doing or will do because I feel like it, but something like having a tidy, clean, decluttered house is actually an act of self-care for me. It's not necessarily something that I always feel like doing, but once I'm doing it, it actually feels really good to shift that energy, to clear that space. So, you know, that might be getting the laundry done. It might be going through that box of paperwork. It might be, I don't know, dusting off the shelves. I don't know. You know, there's always something. So just having one little chore that I'm going to do for that day, that's going to beautify my space, because we are in our houses a lot more. So we want to be in a beautiful space that feels good for us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And then I like to just... and then usually some sort of connection, so whether that's like that spiritual connection, so whether that's some meditation, whether that's just some deep breathing, just taking that time in stillness and tuning inwards. And then the rest of the day is pretty much, I like to have space in the day. So that might be, and when I've got that space, just seeing what I feel like doing in that time. So that might be, I might feel like doing something, studying something, doing a bit of work, or I might actually feel like, oh, actually, I just need to have a rest, you know, for a couple of hours. So having that space within that routine is, you know, really important as well. But that, you know, those routines or those couple of things that you're doing every day, or that set up a bit of a structure and routine for you, actually do create a lot of space and freedom. So yeah, curious. Oh, the other one that I wanted to talk about is the switching off. So another thing that I'm doing for that sacred rest and having a rest is actually switching off from technology and social media and all of that sort of stuff. So not jumping on my phone first thing in the day, actually doing something for myself first before I get on my phone, check my messages, that sort of thing. And then around 7 o'clock at night, I've been putting my phone onto airplane mode. And then last night, I even switched all the Wi-Fi off in the house and even considering going out and buying some candles and actually switching off the electricity in the house at a certain time of night, and just having that complete switch off from technology, electrical, that stimulation, screen time. So yeah, like the other night, the power actually just went completely out for about, I don't know, probably 2 minutes. I think I was watching something on TV, and I think Christiane might have been reading a book or something. And I just noticed my whole system just relaxed instantly, because I live out in the country, so it's quite dark. It's quite dark out here when there's no electricity. And even in that just brief moment, I was just like, oh, it just felt so good to be in that darkness, to just have that. It was like another layer or another level of distraction was taken away from my senses and from that stimulation. And I guess it's a bit like, you know, the float tanks, that sensory deprivation for that deep sacred rest. So yeah, I was thinking about that this morning, how nice it was when the power just went out. So yeah, thinking I might go get some nice candles and even, you know, turn off all the lights, you know, just that hour or two before bed, maybe even the hour before bed. And it's just that winding down process for our energy system, for our nervous system, for our senses, you know, talking about the restoration of sacred rest. It's like, how deep can you go with this? How deep can we rest? How deep can we switch off? And just truly be present with ourselves or our loved ones in our homes. Like, I'm really noticing with me and Christiane just how much deeper our connection's growing in this time we're spending together. There's just, yeah, so much more love and connection there. You know, how, you know, I guess you sometimes feel that when you're away on holidays and having a new adventure or just spending that quality time together, but it's like we're getting that just through this home retreat. And, you know, we've been going for walks together a lot more than we have been, and just those real simple quality time together. So I'm really noticing that, and it feels really good. I'm really grateful for that as well. Simi. Oh, hey, good morning, Simi. It did that here the other day, and I said the same thing to the kids, told them we should have an Earth Day each week, candles and quiet games together. Oh, I love that, Simi, an Earth Day. Isn't that awesome? I love that. Oh, that's where we turn the Earth Day, where they turn all the electricity off and that. Yeah. There must be something going on collectively around that then. Yeah, because I heard one of my friends talking about it as well, and it kind of planted the seed for me, and it reminded me of when the power went out. And yeah, I can see on the oven clock this morning that the power must have gone out overnight as well. So there's another little sign. Jill, I usually have candles on in the evening, so relaxing with my dinner. Yeah, there's really something relaxing about candlelight, because I know with the electrical lights, and particularly, I mean, fluorescent lights, not that they can be, yeah, just really stimulating to the nervous system. And then even the lights from screens off our computers and phones and iPads and stuff. But candlelight's really soft and really soothing. Yeah. Yeah, I know that you're good with that one, Jill. I thought of you actually in all your candles. So I wanted to share just a little healing process from the card that I pulled this morning. So this was the receiving card, the one that was talking about the restoration of sacred rest. And yeah, I guess I was just thought I'd share about this morning, and just getting, you know, and reflecting on what that looks like for you, because it really is different for everyone, that sacred rest and what you need. I know being more empathic and sensitive in nature, it is removing a lot of that sensory stimulation and truly switching off, having that time in solitude, in that stillness and silence and beingness. But that's not, everybody's different in what that looks like for them, what that sacred rest looks like for them. I'm just sharing my experience around that. So I'm just going to read out this healing process. So you might even like to close your eyes and just receive the vibration of the words. So it's a bit of a, I guess an affirmation, a statement. Okay, so it says, I release all false guilt and shame about having needs and all false beliefs about rest being wasteful or unnecessary. I accept healthy, productive, sacred rests and the gifts of happiness that it brings. I understand that rest and activity balance, feed, and nourish each other. There is sacred healing that happens through rest, which is very powerful. I accept and receive this now. Through unconditional love, this is now so. And then there's a little story which I might share as well from the book. So the great French Impressionist painter Monet sat in his garden on a warm afternoon. He was napping lightly on his garden bench with the sunlight dappling gently through the straw hat resting over his face. It was soft and warm on his closed eyelids. He sighs contentedly. A nosy neighbour poked his head over the fence, keen to know what the brilliant artist was up to now. Sir, you are resting, the curious neighbour called out. No, responded Monet, wriggling to get even more comfortable on his reclining garden chair. I am working. He relaxed further as the mild breeze tickled the hair on his forearms. Monet returned to his garden the next day, consumed by the urge to translate his feelings onto the canvas. He painted with great energy and focus. He was inspired and the paint flowed. Again, the nosy neighbour poked his head over the fence and he called out, Sir, you are working. No, said the artist, barely pausing with his brush. I am resting. So yeah, just an interesting little story. And I guess what I get from that is like what we would see as resting, where he was just relaxing in his garden, enjoying the sun, the breeze, and all of that. You know, he saw that as working. Because when we actually have that rest and that pause and that stillness, we actually receive a lot of gifts from that. I know I receive a lot of intuitive and spiritual guidance in that rest because I'm in that open and receiving state. So we're actually working on other levels that are not necessarily always conscious to us. And it might be more the energetic, it might be more the physical, we might be, integrating certain healing or whatever, and actually doing a lot of work in that resting state, even taking naps and sleeping. Sometimes how you just get hit with the urge to take a nap and you just fall into this deep sleep. I know I do it. And I might drop into this deep, almost unconscious sleep for 20 minutes. And then I wake up. And I always see it as it's like I needed to get out of the way for a deeper healing to occur. And I needed to be unconscious or out of the way consciously to allow that to happen. So we don't know what's at work when what it looks like we're doing is resting. We might actually be working through something and not even aware of it. And then that, I guess, fuels our passion, our creativity, our purpose as well. And like Monet, the next day we might feel really creative. I know I always do. If I have like a serious day of rest or just a day of doing nothing, allowing myself to do nothing, then often the next day I feel really inspired and really creative and wanting to do, some of the things that I might not have wanted to do the day before. So yeah, there was something else there and I just lost it. That's why I was just Trying to see if it would come back to me. Simi saying yes, 100%. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. In terms of, the restoration of sacred rest is, if you can, having at least one day of the week where you have nothing planned, that's, and it might be, for me, I like that to be my Sundays. That's my sacred Sundays. So I don't usually have anything planned. I don't make any plans. I say no to social invitations. We have one ritual that we do on Sundays, which is we go to the farmers markets. We get our produce for the week. And usually we'd catch up with my parents and my friend for breakfast at the markets, but because of social distancing and all that at the moment, that's not happening. So we've been going for a walk along the river. And then after that, it's just whatever we feel like doing. And usually, we get home, unpack the shopping, and then me and Christian will sort of just go off and have our own time to ourselves, just doing whatever we feel like doing, be that resting, be that something else. So yeah, if you can, having that one day without any plans and just seeing what you feel like doing, like not what anybody else in your family feels like doing, but actually, if you can, keeping that for yourself and honoring that and seeing what you feel like doing and what you want to do for yourself on that day. Hey, Susan. So yeah, I'm curious if anybody has any personal reflections around that, or any ways that they like to rest, or what they do to get that sacred rest. One of my favorites is making a nice cup of tea and sitting out the back deck on the daybed and just, sitting in silence, looking at the trees, listening to the birds, and at the moment watching the butterflies. Jill saying, oh, I miss the markets. Yeah, it's not the same at the moment, Jill. It's it's a very different energy there at the moment with everything that's going on. But yeah, so we've developed a new ritual of going for a walk along the river. It's a little bit more socially appropriate at the moment. Simi, hee hee, ow, I needed that. Do you mean around like having that day to yourself, or that day that's just for you? Is that what you mean? I'm assuming. So I know you've got little ones, and yeah, it can be a little bit more challenging. Anyways, I'm feeling very relaxed, just chilling out with you all, having my cup of tea. Jill, lying on my day bed with my dogs and a cuppa. Yeah, I love my day bed. I highly recommend anyone, if you do not have a day bed, to get a day bed, because it's like that. It's like, it actually is a sacred vessel for me. It's something that is actually really important for me to have as a sensitive empath, is having that sacred space somewhere in your house that is dedicated to rest and beingness. And it's something I learned a few years back. I think it was a kinesiologist that I was seeing, and she was like tuning into me and what I needed. And she was sort of like, oh, I've never heard of this before, but you need to create some sort of sacred space within your house or within your room that is purely just for you to be, just for you to rest. And at the time, I was really, really unwell, stressed out, anxious, autoimmune issues, just really unwell, suffering with a lot of fatigue. So I had this, what's called a papasan chair, you know, those round cane chairs with the big, massive cushions in them. It's like a little nest. So I had that chair. So what I did is I set it up in my room, and I think I put crystals and stuff underneath it, and just created this like sacred resting place. And when I used to get home from work and I'd be quite wiped out and drained, that's where I'd go. I'd go and sit in this chair, and I literally, with every time, without fail, I would just fall asleep. almost instantly I'd just drop out of consciousness for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'd wake up again. It's like I'd just sort of gone off planet, got whatever I needed, come back type of thing. It was really powerful. And I'm just, this is all just coming to me now. I'm reminding me of it now, reflecting on it now. And it was the same, yeah. And then when I moved into the my new place, I bought a day bed, and it was out on the back deck amongst the trees. And I used to spend a lot of that time out there when I was still recovering and healing, just resting, sometimes sleeping, or just literally laying there for hours looking at the trees. So it's become a practice for me, this sacred rest. So if you can have even a place in your house like a day bed, or an armchair, or whatever that looks like, that is just dedicated to you. Like when you go there, you're doing nothing else but resting and being. Like I still get on my day bed and journal and pull cards and stuff, but sometimes I just get on there and rest. Simi, yes, need that. Wendy, I work from home, same office hours, love it. Oh, nice. Simi, yeah, I'm having my apple cider vinegar, honey, and chlorophyll. Nice chilling with you. Oh, that sounds very healthy. I've got my green tea and honey today. That's pretty much my standard. And I've been drinking some turmeric tea as well. That was nice. Oh, I love them. Have wanted one for years. Sounds blissful. Yeah, you can get lots of nice day beds and chairs and Papa Sun chairs and that now. That is super relaxing. Yeah. So, on that note, lovelies, I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, perhaps think about what that looks like for you and how you can find that sacred rest, and be open to receiving any inspiration and intuition around that. Yeah. So much love to you all. Lovely to catch up again. Take care of yourselves. Rest up. Be easy on yourselves with the to-do lists. And yeah, have a beautiful, beautiful, relaxing weekend. Much love. Mwah.